If you're a fan of Football Manager, this is like Christmas morning. There is nothing better than Youth Intake Day. But while you're hurrying up to sign your new players and check out your new toys, have you ever wondered what goes into Youth Intake? And have you ever wondered what's up with this Youth Intake preview thing and what separates a good preview from a bad one? Now, before we dig too deep into this, I do have to admit that I'm not really the person who did most of this research. So as usual, we got to thank Max over at Evidence-Based Football Manager for his work on Youth Intake a couple years ago, as well as Florin133 on Reddit, whose Youth Intake guides, which this is based on, are absolutely phenomenal. Anyway, let's dive in. Okay, so first things first, there are 5 factors that tell you whether Youth Intake will be good or not, and we'll go into each of these. The first one is club reputation, which is a number that ranges from 0 to 10,000. There are numerous ways to build your club's reputation, but the best is to win matches. Now, Football Manager is really cool because your team's reputation does increase over time. In fact, that's really been one of the secrets to Football Manager's success over the years. It's because this makes it possible for you to take an amateur side that nobody's ever heard of and eventually turn it into a world-beating team. But the thing is that there's a lot more to it than just that. You've also got youth coaching, youth facilities, and youth recruitment. Youth coaching is called junior coaching in this game for whatever reason, just so you know. Anyway, you can increase these things by asking the board, but then they have to agree to spend money on it. And as you know, it's really frustrating to get the board to agree to do anything. You've got to be persistent, you got to hope that the club gets taken over by like an oil tycoon or someone who's happy to, actually spend money. Anyway, there's one other thing that's really important. That would be this field here. This is the National Youth Rating, which is on a scale from 1 to 200. Unfortunately, it's been proven time and time again that this rating is fixed. In other words, there will be an upper limit to what you can accomplish with it if you decide to do a Build a Nation save. There was a huge discussion about this on the official forums way back in 2021, and things really have not changed since then, even though Sports Interactive claimed that they did change a little while ago. Basically, if you're going to try to build up Bhutan, you're going to become frustrated as time goes on. It just won't build. Now, this is one of the many inflexible things about Football Manager that will just totally drive you nuts. I don't understand why, you can get your club to grow, but you can't get, people in your nation to be excited about your sport after you've been dominating it on the international level. As much as I love to dunk on FM26, the truth is that the earlier versions of the game have a whole bunch of these finicky things that will give you a headache anyway. But it's still okay, as long as you know about this limit and you can keep it in mind. There are kind of ways around it. Anyway, you usually get your youth intake preview in December or so, and it looks something like this. It's actually a kind of a draft. Clubs in your nation or in your region will choose from the best players based on their youth recruitment and club reputation ratings. The names, the positions, and the nationalities of the new players are generated then, but not the actual stats. So if you're doing a Youth Academy save and you really want to game the system, you should try to save scum right before you get that email. That gives you a shot at different names and different nationalities. But if all you care about is the current ability and potential ability, you're fine save scumming a little bit later on, up until the actual youth intake announcement comes in. But you should know that there are some general ranges for current ability and potential ability for each of your players. So if you want to break out of that range, you do have to go back further with your save scum. Anyway, this is your Christmas present, and it usually comes in mid-March or so. If you're playing with FM17, it looks like this without the grades. The old way is more cumbersome since you have to click on every player. This is one of the few places where Football Manager has clearly been improved. And the older games do not have that youth intake preview email. So one of these days I'm really going to dig in to see if I can figure out what's going on, but that's a project for the future. Anyway, the current abilities and potential abilities of your players are impacted by club reputation, junior coaching, the national youth rating, and your youth facilities. Notice here that junior coaching is hugely important for both current and potential ability. You want to prioritize junior coaching, assuming your board lets you. The only thing the head of youth development actually does is impact the personality of your players by touching on their professionalism. This is why you want somebody with a high level of professionalism. Anyway, the head of youth development doesn't really have to be a model citizen. You have to remember, you're not going after personality, you're going after the professionalism level. The players who have high professionalism tend to develop faster and are more likely to hit their potential ability than players who have low levels of professionalism. Harvest Green 22 has shown that high levels of professionalism cause player attributes to grow a lot faster. He also discovered that there is an upper limit to the growth of physical attributes for players between ages 15 and 18 unless you do the high intensity quickness training hack that I keep talking about. That's important because the physical attributes pace and acceleration are more strongly correlated with success than anything else, even including the tactic that you use. But it's okay to get ahead of youth development who has really bad numbers as long as he's got really good professionalism, right? He needs to be a model citizen or model professional or whatever. The truth is that those other attributes don't make a difference, like at all. I know everybody says it does. Everyone on YouTube says it does. You can find guides everywhere that tell you this. Sports Interactive says it makes a difference, but it doesn't. It's been tested. It doesn't. Anyway, there's one other difference to remember, and this is that you can get affiliate clubs, and this is the way you can kind of get around some of those limitations. So if you want, you can make an affiliate relationship with another club somewhere else in the world, provided that your reputation is high enough. Football Manager comes with a bunch of these preloaded, though the truth is that most of these are basically useless. The only relationship that matters is the one where you've got this language saying that your team might benefit from youth players coming up through the other team's system. Of course, this only really works if your affiliate club has a better national youth rating than your club. It means you can get some real golden wonder kids without doing anything. When you're looking at a club to target as an affiliate, you want everything to be good except the youth facilities, and I do not know why SI programmed it like this. Anyway, that's pretty much all that goes into the youth intake world. The biggest thing to remember though is that the rest and the intense quickness individual training glitch is the best way to unlock the potential of your youth players. I'll also touch on a couple of other things that Florin133 reported. So as I mentioned, professionalism is the factor that will help your player grow the most, though loaning them out can help a little bit. Playing in games will help your player grow, especially as they grow older. Players will grow when they play on your youth teams, especially if they're younger than 19. And really, you should be waiting until your players are 23 or so to loan them out if you want growth. I'm not sure what your experience has been in your saves, but I've noticed in mine that the young players I loan out don't really tend to grow much better than if they had just been hanging around at the club. Anyway, there are a couple of other things that Harvest Green 22 on FM Arena discovered a year and a half ago that might also be somewhat helpful to you. For example, the difference between a training facility level of 10 and 20 at any given club really isn't all that big. Similarly, a player with professionalism level of 15 will grow almost as fast as a professionalism level of 20. There are diminishing returns with those higher levels. And the most important thing of all is to remember that player growth actually is capped by potential ability. I always forget this, right? I've tried these saves in the past where I decided to go around signing every single model citizen player I could find regardless of the star ratings, right? But the problem is that being a model citizen alone does not help your young players grow by magic. Your players also have to have that potential for growth. Again, however, if you want to get the most out of your mediocre players, the best thing to do is to take what attributes they have and condense them into pace and acceleration using the training trick, since pace and acceleration are really the most important attributes in the game.